In this video, I'd like to look at an HTML page with some JavaScript, and there's going to be a style that has a variable in the style, and then that variable is going to be changed by a timer. And then the design I'm sort of creating, or I should say maybe recreating, is based on a work by Victor Vasarely. He's got a number of works named TUZ, but the one in particular I'm thinking of is sort of two plexiglass sheets with designs on them, and then one of them can be, at least one of them, maybe both of them can be sort of rotated, and so you get this sort of interaction of the two patterns. Okay, so what have we got? And there is indeed the pattern. Okay. So up here first in the style, I have this colon root, and then I have this dash dash half size and dash dash ROT, rotation angle, ROT underscore A and G. And I'm giving them values and along with their units. So this is going to be the size of the SVG that I'm going to create, or half of the size. So I'm going to make a sort of a 600 by 600. That black square was 600 by 600, and that's being determined by this style variable, the CSS variable. And then I am rotating. I have two designs, and they're being rotated in opposite directions, and that's based on this. And that is the variable that we'll see later will be changed by the timer. So then there's some body, which has some overall centering and font choice. Here are two classes. So you see the dot in the style. So I'm going to have a style called clock. I'm going to have a class in my style called clock. And so dot clock. And here we are going to have that style undergo a transform of the rotation. And the rotation is going to be based on this variable dash dash rot, and then the origin, the point about which I am rotating, is there's an x and a y, and again that's going to be the half size, the half size and the half size. And when you're using this variable, then you use this method var that sort of gets, sort of retrieves the variable for you. And then I likewise have a counter class. So I had a clock class for a clockwise and a counter for a counterclockwise class. And here, the difference is that I am doing a calculation. So I have a calc method. So I'm using the transform property of in style. I'm using particularly a rotate transform, and then I'm using var to retrieve my variable, and then I am calculating with it. So I'm using the calc method and the var method sort of here in CSS in the style. And then I have an SVG, and I'm styling that to be sort of twice the half size, so the full size, if you will. Okay, so that was the style. And again, this is done, a lot of the work is done in the style in this one, not all of it, but a lot of it. Here is my just SVG, which is basically an empty container. Its size was made by the style, but I did give it a background color here of black. And I gave it an ID so I can refer to it in JavaScript, because all of the two designs are going to be added dynamically in JavaScript. That didn't need to be, but it can be done that way. And so here is a reference for dynamically drawing in SVG. Okay. I'm going to create elements, and the normal JavaScript create element sort of doesn't always know about SVG, so we're sort of expanding the namespace so that we know it knows about SVG. Okay. I want to get one of my variables is going to be center. My design is going to be built around the center, and the center X and the center Y are going to be the same. So I'm just going to get one variable called center. If I had some kind of rectangular shape, then I might need center X, center Y. But here I am using get computed style and get property value. So these are the ways I can get that style. Again, we had a variable in the style, and we need to access it. So I'm doing window get computed style and document element, and then dot get property value, and then the value, the style property was named dash half underscore size, and then we're getting its value. I'm going to have I'm going to have basically if 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I think the side is 6. So I'm going to start off and I'm going to have some delta of 50. This is going to be basically the space between my circles, the centers of my circles. So I have this sort of lattice of, so I have a sort of a two-dimensional array. So I have X's and Y's. And I'm starting at minus n delta and going and staying in the loop while X is less than n times delta, and I'm going up by deltas. And the same thing for Y's. So that this is the sort of square lattice I'm building. I am creating an SVG circle. I am giving it a center, and the center is based on the overall center plus the X, and then to get the circle's position sort of right, I'm adding a delta divided by 2. So that's giving me the CX and the CY. And then I'm getting, so those are properties of a circle in SVG. So it's a CX, a CY, and an R are the main properties, the main geometric properties. So I'm setting the CX, the CY, and the R. So it was 20, I'll say pixels. Then no fill. As you can see that there was no fill. You can see through the circle to see like the other circle center behind. When I get my second, it's not so important that this first one have no fill. It could have a black fill, but it's more important that the sort of ones that come later have the fill of none. Okay. The stroke was white, so they were white circles. They are stroke width of 3, so they're a little more substantial looking. And then I'm giving them the class of clock, and we recall from our style that clock is doing the transform. And then we are appending it to the SVG. And same thing down here, mostly all the same. It's the same lattice, except it's in the counter class. So I have my two lattices are the same, except their class attribute. And one of them was in the clock class, and the other one was in the counter class. Okay, so setInterval is to start a timer. It's calling the method, which I will define next, rotate_design, and I'm calling it every 100 milliseconds, every 10th of a second. So here is that function. And again, we need to get that property. Same as up here when we got the property of the half size. We are getting the property here of the other variable, the rotation angle. So we're going and we're getting the rotation angle. Then the rotation angle had some units. And so parse int will, and I want to do some math, so I need to get rid of the unit to get them to do the math. And so I did parse int, and that gets rid of the unit, which in this case is a degree. And then I'm incrementing just here by 1. I'm adding 1 to the degrees, and then I am setting the property. So I'm changing my, so up here in the style, this was just the initial rotational angle. But it is being changed dynamically down here in this line 85, where I retrieved it. I sort of got the rotational angle, stripped off its unit, incremented it, and now I'm setting it back, taking that new number, putting the unit back on, and setting the property. So I can get the property, or I can set the property. And these, again, this is a style property. And then I can, in CSS, perform the whole transformation. So all the rotation is being handled by style, but in order to make it dynamic and rotating the way it is, it was on a style variable, and then that style variable was dynamically changed by the set interval, by the timer. Okay, that's what I wanted to show you. And again, acknowledging the design is by the artist Victor Vasarely. Thanks for your attention.